Public transit is just one component of transportation planning, but it's one that cities across the country are grappling with as the number of people and cars on the road keeps increasing. To quote the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, public transit is the backbone of livable cities. Better transit means less congestion, faster commutes, more convenience, higher productivity, and lower emissions. Simply put, public transit builds better lives. Thank you for joining me today. We're talking about transit and transportation planning on this episode of AE Live.
Coming to you on the internet audio, all the STEM homies know is where you gotta go vibing your ride to the Graham and Michael groove. Whoa, it's a whole new funky flow and treat your ears, get the gist of careers from a list of our engineers and scientists, maybe twisted up with technologists. It's a podcast, baby, and not to be missed. Got more fly than a ripe banana. Like Sam, I got the stamina streaming across Canada. I can treat sugar band, I got that swiggity swag, yeah, and the 411 from my horse to Niagara. Don't you know we're gonna innovate? Got a topic here to elevate. Gonna entertain and educate.
This podcast is being recorded in Vancouver on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. According to Statistics Canada, 15.9 million Canadians commuted to work in 2023. This was unsurprisingly an increase of 3.3 million people from 2021 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and many people working from home. But importantly, it was also an increase of almost 500,000 from the pre-pandemic totals of 2016. Canada's improving job market and increasing population are putting more people on the roads than ever before. Over 80% of those commuters traveled by car, with the remaining being split between public transit and walking or cycling. Public transit systems provide significant benefits to Canadians. From an economic perspective, the Canadian Urban Transit Association estimates that transit systems in Canada account for $19 billion of economic benefit and directly employs around 60,000 people. It also reduces the economic cost of vehicle collisions by $3.2 billion and saves Canada about $137 million in annual health care costs. On a household basis, the Canadian Public Health Association estimates that households can save $10,000 a year by using public transit when high-quality transit options are available. Then there's the environmental benefits. The CUTA estimates that annual greenhouse gas emissions are reduced by 4.7 million tons because of public transit. So let's talk a bit more about what goes into transportation planning for municipalities in Canada. Today, I'm joined by Kent Eklund, Senior Vice President, Transportation with Associated Engineering. Kent joined Associated in 2014 and has over 30 years of experience working on transportation projects across the province of Alberta. Hi, Kent. Thanks for taking some time to speak with me today.
Great to be here, Graham.
So I wanted to start with an eye to the new graduate just beginning their career. You have a degree in engineering and an MBA from the University of Alberta. Walk me through your experience in school and how you kind of found your way through your career.
Well, I originally entered university trying to get a degree in computer science, but I didn't quite make it there, so I would switch to my second, which was engineering, which was fun, and I migrated toward mechanical engineering, which I graduated in. And then for me, 10 years after that, I got cancer, so then after a year of treatment, I decided to go back to get my mind working again. So that's when I went for my MBA. And then I got into engineering consulting at that point.
So when you look at new engineers kind of entering the workforce, how do you compare your experiences to what they're facing today? I assume some things have changed and some things probably haven't too much.
Yeah, I think what's changed is I think clients are looking for an engineer that, has broad experience, able to think out of the box, and able to provide, best solutions for the issues that they are facing, and to be open and honest with the client, because again, they're learning at the same time you are.
You mentioned kind of going back to school and then getting into consulting engineering instead. Where is that difference? We're a consulting engineering company. If you're looking at starting your career, is it how do you make that decision of consulting engineering and then I guess the other options that are out there?
Well, for me, when I graduated university, I got into a little company where we distributed packaging equipment for the food and beverage industry. But then after that, I switched into consulting, and I did it because of a relative that got me interested in doing engineering consulting. And that's how I entered the field. But I think, you have to have a passion for doing the work, passion for talking to people, getting to know people, and understanding their needs, their wants, their expectations.
So you had a relative that kind of helped you get started and then kind of find your way through a career path there. I think a lot of people I talk to today have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years that kind of have that early mentor, early contact. Did you have other mentors when you were getting started there, or is it?
Well, once I got into engineering consulting, I had a couple of really good mentors, some senior people that guided me, helped me with my career, helped me with, developing my skills within proposal writing, which was very beneficial as time went on.
And do you look to kind of pay that back these days?
Through the major project I'm on, I have a number of deputy project managers who I'm mentoring and providing, skills for, and, guiding them on what to do on a major project, an alternative major project. So there's a lot of informal mentorship happening.
Great. That's really great. So it's good to hear kind of that kind of history of your career. If we move into kind of the nuts and bolts of what you've done, I guess, are there kind of some memorable projects you look back on with fondness?
There's memorable ones and there's not so memorable ones. I remember when I first did engineering consulting, my very first proposal, I wrote everything down and I thought I would win it and I lost it. So it was a good learning experience in that respect. But I think there's two major projects that I've really taken to heart. One is the St. Albert Park and Ride. It was Associated Engineering's first transit project with regard to a park and ride facility that I went after with the city and was able to win it and brought it all the way from concept all the way through to construction and implementation. To me, the second one was the Capital Line LRT. It's the first LRT that Associated is leading as prime consultant, and it's flourished from the original scope of being just prelim engineering. Now it's in procurement right now as a design build model, and it's going to be constructed hopefully by the year 2028. So, it's good to see a major project that you're involved in from the start of it all the way through to the completion of it. That's, to me, that's exciting.
Yeah, that must be really gratifying, and maybe different context for you in kind of transportation planning role compared to, I've talked to a couple of engineers here who work on small projects, and it's 4 months, it's 6 months. Sometimes in a small town, it's a little thing. It's built, it's done. You go on your way, and you kind of look for the next project. But what is it like working on a project that you're hoping is completed in 2028? It's
challenging. Obviously, since they're so big, there's a lot of stakeholders, so there's a lot of challenges with people, and that goes back to one of my earlier comments. Is you really have to get to know people and be able to communicate with them to get the buy-in or to help explain a certain situation. And that's, to me, that's the fun part, is getting that relationship with the people in order to develop solutions to complex problems.
Right. So while we're on the topic, I guess, of the Capital Line LRT there in Edmonton, this is not the first project you've done for the city of Edmonton. You've got a kind of a long relationship there, and tell me a bit about transportation in Alberta and Edmonton in specific.
Well, I have a long relationship with the city of Edmonton, also with Alberta Transportation, and Alberta Transportation does the majority of the hiring for engineering consulting because it's provincial wide, obviously. And, I've done a number of interchanges with them. And again, it's been fun. You look at, the people you get to meet, the people you get to work with, the diversity of people. It's always fun to get to know where they're coming from, and what they're thinking and what they want you to contribute to the projects and what they're contributing to. So each project is always unique. You mentioned small ones. I've done small ones where from $5,000 up to $1 billion project, right? So they all have their unique challenges and fun.
I guess when we're talking about cities and transportation planning, you've done LRT. What other types of projects fall under that kind of umbrella for you?
Well, like for transit, it's basically LRT and park and ride facilities. I mean, I've done numerous interchange projects, highway projects, planning projects. So I consider myself well-versed, but not an expert in everything.
Sure. I guess you're supporting governments in kind of public policy decisions as well with that.
As part of that, yes, there's always those types of projects where you have to, on the transportation planning and policy development, which we've done a number with the City of St. Albert on implementation of ITS, Intelligent Transportation Systems. With them, we've done their policies, developed a framework, even simple ones like parking bylaws. You help with policies on that.
So one question that comes up, I guess, frequently when you're kind of going out and talking to people in the public is, government's often under a lot of pressure for transportation, especially when it comes to reducing traffic. Public desire is more lanes, more roads, more everything, and I think the research out there would suggest that more lanes and more roads doesn't often reduce traffic. How do you help governments navigate their way through public policy and making those decisions? And
one thing a lot of municipalities and government organizations need to do, and which they are starting, is trying to get the most efficient use out of what they have now. So, by using items like intelligent transportation systems, to try and maximize the flow of vehicles on those roadways, on those interchanges. The use of LRT to transport people more efficiently than vehicles on roadways. That's where I find joy in helping the clients. And, and that's where you can help guide their policies to help implement those types of solutions.
You must have seen a lot of changes over your career in terms of the way that planning is done, particularly with, I guess, the way intelligent transportation systems are kind of coming online and the data available to that research and planning.
Yeah, I hope you're not suggesting that I was around when there was horse and buggy, but
not quite. No,
I have seen. You are correct. Times have changed. Data, the accumulation of data, and the use of data, analyzing that data in order to help improve solutions, has gone a long way. Transportation modeling, which has greatly improved over the last couple of years, to help with decisions on traffic flow, traffic requirements, lane requirements, intersection requirements, etc.
Are there specific technologies that have kind of made that more of a reality that you think have benefited the industry in particular?
Bluetooth, actually, and the cell phones, definitely, because now organizations can track the flow of traffic through people's Bluetooth on their cell phones, and they're able to see where their destinations, where they originated from to where they're going to their destination. And then you can see that over time, and then you're able to help plan a better solution. And you also want to try and help them transfer to alternative modes like walking, biking. And you can see if there's short trips between certain points, maybe the infrastructure needs to change there to help with multi-use trails in order to help change people from a different mode of transportation.
All right, so keeping in mind, I guess, the changes you've seen over the recent past, where and what are you expecting to see changes and new things coming up in the future? What's the future of planning and maybe in your specific areas of interest too?
Well, I think the future is in a couple areas. One, of course, is LRT or BRT bus lane. I think that's just going to grow and grow because, we have such an influx of people into Canada. We need to move them efficiently. The other thing is people are switching from using their cars to using bikes or walking for a better, healthier lifestyle. So I think those two areas of modes of transportation are going to increase. And yes, we are still going to see increases in vehicle traffic. I don't think we'll ever get around that, but hopefully we can reduce the increase to a minimum where we can increase the use of LRT and alternative modes.
I've been told that the LRT is a particular passion of yours. Besides, I guess, the Capline project in Edmonton, what do you have your eyes on and other fingers in, I guess?
Yeah, there's a couple projects in Ontario we're looking at as a company. We just submitted a proposal for the Waterloo line. And then, of course, there's the big green line in Calgary. And there's always expansion lines both in BC, Vancouver area, and in Edmonton.
Is that really like an untapped option for municipalities and the provinces around Canada in terms of LRT? We don't see a lot of use of that type of transit in many cities. Certainly, growing up in Vancouver, we've got our SkyTrain line, but it's somewhat limited in terms of the destinations, or it has been over the last 30 years. So, what's your vision for all of that, and what do you see?
Well, again, LRT is expensive, and it's hard to implement because of the expense. So I see a combination of bus rapid transit in either by itself within a municipality, which is much less to implement than an LRT, or a combination of LRT and bus rapid transit. You are right. I mean, LRT can only go where the tracks are laid, but you can intertwine the use of buses with that LRT system to help reach out to distance points within the municipality.
Is it a challenge to convince people that that's the better route to go, that taking up space for LRT is worth it in the long run for traffic and the efficiency of moving around the city?
I think it is. I mean, you look at winter cities, for example, an LRT will run on time even though it's a snowstorm, whereas traffic will get backed up. I think the biggest challenge right now for that type of mode of transportation, whether it's LRT or BRT, is the safety surrounding it. So I know municipalities are now investing more money into the management of those systems and better enforcement of safety, which I think if it's implemented properly, then you're going to see an increase in ridership for those systems.
All right. I guess speaking of challenges, do you have other challenges you've generally faced? Maybe not just specific to current projects, but that you've kind of had to overcome on projects that would be interesting for, again, maybe getting back to that new graduate looking for a career. But just tell me a bit about challenges you've faced over your career.
Yeah, and I think again, I'll go back to thinking out of the box, because a client will come to you with an issue, and you have to have the ability to try and solve it. And that, to me, that's thinking out of the box. If you just want to think pure engineering, that's not going to get you where you want to get. You got to apply that pure engineering with common sense and practicality. And I think, and communicating in an appropriate manner with the clients in order to help solve the solutions.
I'm assuming kind of building that relationship and kind of having that communication is something that's been an enjoyable part of your career for the better part of it? Oh, yes,
it is. I've met a lot of fantastic people, both with clients and both with, our competitors, our other engineering firms, because you need to know your competitors, because at some point you do need to partner on some projects, because one firm doesn't have the entire resources or solutions for that type of project. So it's getting to know people, getting to know their skills, getting to know how to work with them. I think that is a key to success. Talking,
I guess, a bit about that, I think certainly when I was young going into, looking for jobs, it felt very competitive. So, but, one company, other company, it's like, oh, you can't talk to them kind of thing. But tell me a bit more about that. That these friendships across different companies, the relationships you build, there's competitiveness and then there's partnerships.
Absolutely. It's always good to get to know people, and, one of the things I find is people have a fear of change, and you have to overcome that fear. In the engineering consulting world, we've been blessed with good years up to this point. And I see just, better years going forward with regard to the requirements of municipalities and what they need, and their reliance on consultants going forward is going to increase. But for a new graduate, I would say just don't be scared to change. You start at one place, learn as much as you can, continue if you like it there, or if you don't, you want to go in a different direction. Don't be afraid of change.
Don't be afraid of change. That's a great lesson for people to take away. I think the last thing I wanted to ask you a bit about, we talked a bit about technologies and how it's changing the face of what you do. Self-driving cars and the kind of the intelligent or the AI that can kind of start to appear in our transportation. How is that changing things here?
Well, if you listened the last couple of years, automated vehicles was a big thing. But in the recent year or so, it's kind of died down. And I think they've run into a number of challenges that they need to overcome in order for it to advance. I see some of that coming into play, but I don't think it's going to overtake people driving or the use of bus rapid transit or LRT. I think those will still be a primary mode of transportation, along with walking and biking. I see automated vehicles limited in certain geographical areas. I don't think they work as well in a winter city versus a summer city. So I do think, depending on where it is, the amount of implementation of automated vehicles is going to be somewhat restrictive.
From your insider's perspective, is that a conversation that's having to happen in the kind of the halls of government?
Yes, I think, more policy needs to develop around that, and that's where we can help out with that. But again, there's the policy, there's the insurance requirements, there's the acceptance of ridership from individuals. So it's a number of avenues that need to be addressed first.
Do you think it would make transportation planning easier?
No, I think it might make it even harder, to be honest, because I think if it does take off, like a lot of people have predicted, that to me that would mean more vehicles on the road. Because it's so simple then just to call up an automated vehicle, hop into it, sit back, read a book, or work on your computer as the vehicle is driving. So I do think it would cause more traffic than a BRT or LRT would.
Okay, so more traffic equals more complication, but maybe not the chaos of human drivers.
This is correct. Yes.
All right. I know you're pressed for time, so why don't we wrap it up there? Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Graham. It's been fun.
All right, thanks. That was Kent Eklund, Senior Vice President, Transportation at Associated Engineering. He joined me to talk a bit about his career in engineering and some of the exciting projects he's involved in, including LRT projects with the City of Edmonton. For some of the projects we discussed with Kent, it's worth mentioning that the Canadian government has been supportive of public transit and funding transit infrastructure. Since 2017, Canadian municipalities have been taking advantage of the Investing in Canada infrastructure plan to get funding and investment for transit systems. Vancouver is using these funds to expand its SkyTrain rapid transit system. We discussed Edmonton's 27 kilometers of light rail expansion, and Montreal is currently extending its Metro Blue Line. Kent mentioned briefly some of what he sees as the future of transportation planning. Bus rapid transit, or BRT, is one innovation that municipalities are looking at to provide solutions that use existing infrastructure. A BRT system uses dedicated bus lanes and stations designed to promote rapid boarding to replicate a train-like experience without having to build rail lines and stations. TransLink in Metro Vancouver has identified 9 potential BRT or rapid bus corridors in their 2022 report titled Transport 2050. But innovation isn't always about looking at new technologies. Sometimes it's about looking at existing problems from a different perspective. University of Alberta researcher Julian Fade co-authored a report for Transport Canada to look at social and cultural factors that may help Canadian municipalities look to the future. In his report, Fade identified that transportation planning hasn't historically been very inclusive. And while inclusivity is a topic being discussed in many different parts of our lives these days, it does have the potential to change how we look at transportation planning in the communities we live in. Transit riders and commuters have often been treated as singular entities, as opposed to a diverse group of people with different preferences, habits, and reasons for traveling. As he points out, innovations can be asking different questions, or asking the same questions to different people. I'm going to leave you with that thought for this episode of AE Live. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.
Coming to you on the internet audio, all the STEM homies know is where you gotta go vibing your ride to the Graham and Michael groove. Whoa, it's a whole new funky flow whenever. Treat your ears, get the gist of careers from a list of our engineers and scientists, maybe twisted up with technologists. The podcast, baby, and not to be missed. Got more fly than a ripe banana. Like Sam, I got the stamina streaming across Canada. Like a tree and sugar band, I got that swaggity swag, yeah, and the 411 from Whitehorse to Niagara. Don't you know we're gonna innovate? Got a topic here to elevate. Gonna entertain and educate.